to recap, we are here celebrating having hit more than 2,000 students here at Wagon in London, of course. Yeah, very exciting, I know. And that means that all of those 2,000 students are part of our much wider pool of more than 19,000 students we've now hit for Wagon globally. So that's in the 40 plus cities that you can find Wagon all around the world. So it's a really exciting time for us. We are growing from strength to strength. And we are here today just with getting some more information from Zarin here, our admissions manager, who works with all of our students nearly that come through the door, who are changing their lives by learning to code, joining our boot camps. And really, what we're really focusing on is developing our students, not only professionally, but personally as well. So you've heard Craig touch on that all-important community. And I'm now going to be handing over to Craig. So say hi, Craig. Hello.
Hi, everyone.
Great. Hey. So I've got a few questions for you because I think it'll be great for those that have joined us to get to know you a little bit better. Obviously, I know you as one of our superstar teachers at Wagon, but I know that you've done the boot camp as well, and there's obviously so much more to you as well. So do you want to take a couple of minutes just to introduce yourself? Tell us, what brought you here today?
So my name's Craig, as we've covered, and I used to be a music teacher.
Cool.
And a musician, and obviously we all got hit with COVID, and working in schools and in venues, and all of those got shut. So I had some time to reassess a few things and think about what's going to challenge me and what I can push forward through in life. And eventually I decided I wanted to become a developer. And I started doing some research into boot camps and decided on Wagon. Did the course. Your Amazing Careers team hooked me up, and now I work for an amazing company, WeShape.
Great.
That's a brief overview of me.
Wow, thank you. I didn't realise that COVID, the pandemic, really sort of changed that track for you. How did you find? Firstly, a couple of questions. How did you find yourself wanting to be a developer, and how did you find the shift going from something as creative as music to tech?
That is a really good question. So as we all found ourselves with not much to do, I'm quite a restless person.
Yeah.
So initially it was finish Netflix, did that quite quickly.
Every single episode.
Exactly. And then it was like, what do I do next? And I started to think about, okay, what can I do? And I thought, I'm going to study law.
Okay.
So I started doing online law courses.
Yeah.
Started doing online law courses, and then I was speaking to a friend who suggested that I have a look at programming, and got me in contact with her son, who had done one of Wagon's competitors courses.
Right. Okay.
And I spoke to him. He kind of told me his transformation, which sounded really amazing. And the music company that I was working for have a digital team. They have a digital aspect to their product. And there was 3 Wagon graduates in the digital team.
Great.
So I bounced from law, and then I started studying data science online, and I did that for about 6 months.
Oh,
interesting.
Wow. Just all self-led.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I got quite far with that, and I had a conversation with one of the seniors in the digital team, and she just started asking me a few questions about sort of what I wanted and the direction I wanted to go. And at the end of this conversation, she's like, have you thought about web dev?
Yeah.
And I hadn't really. I was quite resistant to it. And eventually I like doing more research online on the future jobs prospects for a data scientist or a web developer. I realised my personality was more suited to web development.
Great.
And and from there I sort of didn't look back.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool. The head of digital there, amazing man. He just made a chat, and we use Teams at the old company. He just made a chat and put all the Wagon developers in there and said, ask them all the questions you want.
Great.
That's
so good.
He must have believed in you then, if he's already setting you up with these resources. Really nice.
Yeah, they were so supportive. They were really, really supportive. So endlessly thankful to all of that team. Some of them I still work with at Wagon because they're TAs and teachers. So it's really nice that community, and coming into Wagon, I had support of Wagon grads as well.
Yeah. So interesting how Wagon grads find each other. Like this isn't actually the first time I've heard this story where someone's like, yeah, I got a job where somebody else from Wagon is actually at. So it's funny. I think that, it gets recommended, doesn't it? Yeah. Interesting. Also great. Interesting to hear that you started off sort of self-teaching and then decided to move to a boot camp. Was there anything in particular that, led you to want some more in-person training?
Yeah, it was time more than anything.
Okay.
Like the life of if you know anyone who's a teacher, they are exhausted all the time.
Yeah.
So teaching and then doing gigs on the side, so a couple of evenings a week and a Saturday traveling wherever, and then you think I need to find time to study on top. I'm working towards that job, and I interviewed for a few jobs as well, and didn't quite make the cut. And it's like, what do I need to do?
Yeah,
and that's commit 100%. So I decided I'm going to quit my job. And if you know many teachers, you might know that the money they're on's not great.
Yeah.
And
no impact.
It's minimal impact. Yeah. And it's quite a scary decision coming from that and going, right, I'm going to quit my job. I have to believe in myself and hopefully land something before it runs out and I have to call my mum. So I just made that decision. I was like, I have to commit to this now.
Yeah.
I've done so much work. I've got to final rounds of interviews, but I don't quite have it yet. And the feedback that I got from the Wagon grads at the company that I was in was just like, not only is it quality education, but it's a great community and it's a family. So like they sold it. I was actually, before I spoke to them, I was heavily leaning towards a different boot camp.
Wow.
Interesting.
Tell us who they are.
Tell us.
It begins with an M. Right?
Making a note.
So I was really leaning towards their boot camp. And but after speaking to the Wagon grads, I completely lost interest because like the passion, you feel the passion of people, right? And like the passion that I got back about that this is the place to be, I couldn't really consider anywhere else.
Yeah.
And then I did my interview and the rest is history, really.
It's beautiful.
Wow. So remind me, when exactly did you do your boot camp?
From April 22 to June 22.
Okay, yeah. So about a year ago now.
Yeah.
Yeah, great. And tell us a bit about what you've been doing since then.
So since then, I've been working for a company called WeShape, which is a tech consultancy. And they started a really wonderful scheme called the WeShape Tech Pathway to help bring diversity into tech and sort of highlight there's a lot of amazing and diverse talent. I think we all have that image of what a developer looks like. Yeah. And the reality is, especially when you walk around places like Wagon, that's just not the case. Like an image doesn't denote talent, and the Tech Pathway is really working towards that in partnership with Wagon to sort of bring that attention, and the opportunities that are coming soon and that have been afforded to me have been amazing. So they've contracted me to a really cool company called Uptime Labs.
Cool.
And we build simulation software for incident managers to help prepare any business's response to an incident and hopefully like improve your uptime.
Nice. Cool. Thank you. What was the most difficult thing during your boot camp, and what really helped you push through?
That's a really good question.
He's raking his brain. There's so many challenges.
Yeah, there's a lot of challenges. Like, I think what naturally comes to mind is, it's challenging learning a new topic every single day. But that's not the thing that stands out to me the most. Like, it's a huge life change, and that brings a lot of like mental stress. And it's a long day. And for me, I live quite far away from the Wagon as well, so I had a long day and I had 2 hours either side of that as well. So actually, like, whilst I was doing the course, mentally it was probably one of those times that was quite difficult for me, but the community that you have at the Wagon, the bond you make with the people that you're studying with, like everyone's going through it, everyone's made these huge life decisions. If you've stopped what you've been doing, if you're going to stop what you're doing for 3 months, like you've made a huge decision.
Yeah.
So like connecting with a bunch of people, all going through the same thing, sort of gets you through that, regardless of like how hard or, I mean, everyone's going to find this course hard. There's a lot of growth to happen, but you know, some people might take to it easier than others, but you'll all experience that same transformative journey, and it's really nice to do that with people.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah, that's such a nice insight. Thank you. Going back a little bit, I'm thinking about, you know, what you did before. You said you worked in the music industry and things like that. And actually, so I was looking the other day at how to improve my logical thinking. You know, I've done a little bit of coding myself recently and wanted to think about how I can apply that sort of logic to sort of more areas of my life and continue learning a bit of coding as well. And what was really interesting was when I Googled it, what they said was the best way to develop logical thinking was to actually do something creative like music. And I just was wondering if, you know, you've managed to use your background in music at all, or did that help you at all in any way, learning to code, or if it sort of helped you even just unwind, or, you know, how have you managed to combine that sort of quite artistic background with a new career in tech?
I always find this a difficult question because people do ask me, people say, oh, like music and coding, very similar. And at first I found it difficult to find the similarities. But what I realized over time is actually anything creative is problem solving.
Yeah.
So, and with things that are stereotypically creative, like, you know, art as in painting or music or something like that, it's you're solving problems to very open questions. Like, you know, how do I write a love song? So you can write a love song a million different ways. And every time you do something, you're coming up with a solution to the next part. The next word is like, how do I capture someone's heart? You know, how do I tell the story with my guitar or my drums or whatever? So it kind of boils down to problem solving for these really open questions and quite spiritual questions. And actually, when you start looking at coding, it's a really human thing to do. How do I solve the problem of people having access to music? Spotify. You're solving a human problem. How do I help people connect on a human level? Facebook. You know, how do I then bombard them with adverts? Also Facebook. But these are not the opinions of Wagon. But still, like, especially since I've now got into my job, everything we're worrying about the user. And before we start talking about code, we talk about people and how we can best serve people. And I think that's where that similarity really comes across. Like, you're problem solving, but you're problem solving for people. And actually, I've found the teaching really helpful. Like, if you ever really want to think about logical thinking, ask a young child to do something you know how to do really well. Oh my gosh. And you'll realize all the steps that you haven't thought about for years. And you say, oh, go and get that cup. And then they
like autopilot.
Run in circles around the room. And you have to be really clear about this thing, this thing, this thing, this thing. And a lot of coding is like that. You have to, a computer just does what it's told. So if you're not specific enough or whatever, you then, that having that limitation, having that feedback of, oh, it's not done that thing because I actually didn't tell it. You learn quickly to I've got to put all these steps in place to get there. It's
like training the trainer, you know. It's that ever evolving problem or challenge, I guess. Oh, that was great, thank you. I get asked so many times from people from an arts background. I'm from a bit more of an arts background myself, you know, about making this shift and things. So yeah, that was really good, good bit of information. Thank you. I think what it would be great to hear a bit more about. So, I mean, there's always a lot of very different people on the bootcamp as well. So can you tell us a little bit more about maybe the people that you met during the bootcamp and, you know, how you worked with people from very different backgrounds? And
it's so long ago now. So much has happened. So when you arrive, you sort of like, it's very much like, not first day of school, but maybe first day of uni. So you arrive everyone's in this like space. There's
Looking
this energy.
around.
Nervous
Yeah,
energy. Yeah.
You don't know what courses people are on, so you sit down at a table and just sort of like sort of introduce yourself. And I was really lucky that I sat down on a table with 2 people from my batch and 2 people from the other web development batch at the time, who I saw the man I'm about to talk to. I saw him today actually.
Oh, cool.
We had lunch together. A Portuguese fella, and he'd come from a customer service background,
Right.
working in high-end hotels and warm energy, like really warm. Forgive me. Really wonderful, and like we have like differences, you know.
Sure.
But at the same time, we really bonded, and I'd done like quite a lot of study beforehand, so we're able to support each other. And then, you know, fast forward 6 weeks when we're working on different topics, he took to quicker than me.
Yeah.
I'm going to him going like, how did you do this? Help me out.
Yeah. Give me your insights. Come on.
Exactly. And we had different people from like different religious backgrounds. Like some people had done computer science degrees. So they had really solid like coding backgrounds.
Yeah.
Some people were parents. We had someone who was pregnant on our course, so she was going through
amazing.
She was going through this like fantastic journey, and like we're all
championing her.
Yeah, we found out like a few weeks in, and we're like, oh my god, no way, this is crazy. And then I was like really trying to get her to name her baby after me, but
obviously,
alas,
didn't work.
No, didn't happen. Didn't even give you a middle name. No,
nothing.
Gutted for you.
Fair enough. I'm sure maybe it was like a family member or something. I don't know. But yeah, so many walks of life in one space, but also we had a real sense of camaraderie. So a real sense of everyone struggling, everyone needs support. And we came to that, you know, as you said in the sort of summary of what happens in the courses, you pair program through the day. But you don't, it's not strictly pairing. We actually, sometimes you end up in a group, you know, people with the same problems work together, or someone who's doing like really well in that particular moment will go and support other people. We have TAs on the course, but we're also a cohort, we're also a team. So we're all, you know, lifting each other up along the way, which is really nice to see. And like as people do better in certain areas, like some topics suit certain people's thinking, so like the front end part really suits creative people, you know, and sort of the back end stuff is super logical. There's a correct answer for everything. You need to give the correct output, even though there may be multiple ways of doing it. That suits other sorts of people. So when, you know, I got to the front end part of it, even though coming from a musician creative sort of background, and I was just like terrified. This is so visual. Oh my god. So like I really got to lean on other people in the course, which was really nice. So yeah, like I don't know if that really answers the question, but like
it sounds like you discovered new things about yourself as well, like new ways to think about problems, because if you were creative before, maybe you were just relying on those skills to help you, but maybe it was quite challenging in the end, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know. I think I don't know.
Bit of both.
I've always struggled with getting very like therapy session, but like the identity of being a creative person. Like I've never been too sure about it. Like I like music. I like to play music. I like to, you know.
You're good at it as well, right? So
I try my best, and but then I see people who are just like pour out songs and pour out art and stuff like that. Like that's a creative person. However, I also think if you have a problem and you come up with a solution, that's creativity in its essence, regardless of whether you're in a lab coat, you're sat at a laptop, playing a guitar, doing art. So somewhere along the line, we're all creative.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And I think that, you know, from watching people's projects at the end of the boot camps, you know, you just see so much creativity pouring through. And even for those people, I think that don't feel naturally creative, they have at the end of the day worked in a team to produce something creative. And I think that can really unleash something in people. I've definitely seen people just grow so much over the 9 weeks that they're with us. Was there anything in particular that really surprised you about the boot camp? Maybe more specifically about the course. I know we sort of talked about your learning journey, your personal growth, but
I think the freedom of it, like I think Wagon leaves you with a lot of responsibility to guide your own learning journey. I sort of thought before I came, I was like, oh, it's going to be like school. I'm gonna come in and they're going to say, you need to know X, Y, Z things and do that and so on and so forth. But actually, that's not the case. It's like Wagon provides you with the tools, the support. You can use as much or as little as you need to get to the end point.
Yeah.
But it's very much more like university. And that freedom means that if you work in a certain way, you can work in that way, and there's no one's forcing you to do it. Like in school, do this, do your homework, you know, write an essay on this topic, and you're not an essay person. You know, you can go and speak to someone. I would raise tickets, and which, for those of you who haven't done Wagon, is the system for like getting a teacher to come and give you some help. I'd raise a ticket and I'd be like, I've done this, I don't fully understand it, you know. And some people, like, just having that conversation was massively helpful for me. Whereas other people may want guidance, other people would be reading documentation, and they'd work that way. I remember being paired with someone who she was just so diligent, and I'd done this challenge before she'd done it, and I was like, oh sweet, I'm on to the next one now. And I checked in with her, and she showed me how she'd done it, and I'd written like 5 or 6 lines of code to solve this problem, and she'd taken the time to read everything properly, and it was one line, and it was it looked so good, and it made sense. It was really readable because she was using the right methods, which are like reusable bits of code for non-coders listening. That I just looked at it and I was like, I learned something really big here, and it wasn't from one of the teachers, it was from watching how someone else chose to learn. So, and I think that's a huge opportunity to like sit and learn with 30 or 40 other people and actually be able to see other people's approaches. It's not something you do often. Like, we all go and do our jobs and we're dead focused on that and have very little crossover in other people's learning processes. So it's really, really, really amazing.
Nice. Gosh, I wonder what she's doing now. I could learn from her. Yeah, definitely.
She is a developer.
Is she?
Oh, amazing.
Hey, yeah, okay, I'll have to track her down. Okay, I've got one more question for you, and then I'm going to ask you to do some more talking. We're going to jump into that landing page workshop we've been waiting for. Do you have any advice for learning tech skills?
Yes, for learning tech skills. Don't feel like you have to know everything.
That's great.
Like, it's the number one thing. Like, I got told this by so many people along the way. I got told by people in interviews. But like, I Google stuff all day, every day. Don't overwhelm yourself with like, I need to be a full stack developer. I need to know Node.js. I need to know React. I need to be able to, I need a Nest.js and all this framework, Ruby on Rails, so on and so forth. I've got to have all these skills. First and foremost, you need to be a great person, and then you need to have good conceptual knowledge. Then you need to be an exceptional Googler. Right?
Yeah, key skill that.
And then use your network for help. Like, no one achieves anything without help. So get used to asking for help, get used to communicating, because even after a boot camp, even after a computer science degree, you still won't go into a company and build their platform. You're going to help with small things, and to do those small things, you're going to have to ask for help. So don't overwhelm yourself. Just be great. Just be you, and you'll be grand.
Amazing.